my name's Eva and welcome to this channel. Today is very special because it is the first video in a new series I am starting called Mastering Masturbation. We're going to be talking all about masturbation, porn, masturbating by yourself, mutual masturbation, sex toys, unusual sex toys. It's going to be amazing. There are a couple of reasons why I have dedicated an entire series to it. There are so many benefits to masturbation. It can actually help boost your immune system, help relax you, improve your sleep. As well, it can be a way of learning more about your own body and your sexual response, and it just feels good. You can just take some time to relax and experience pleasure in your own body, which is pretty amazing. However, despite all of these amazing benefits, there are still a whole bunch of people who are not masturbating. From a really cool study, which unfortunately did not specify whether participants were cis or trans, they looked at the prevalences of a bunch of sexual behaviors in the United States. They found that at ages 18 and 19, only 26% of women were masturbating on a monthly basis, compared to 61% of men. That is mind-boggling. This gap in masturbation decreases once people reach 26 to 29, with women, 52% of them are masturbating on a monthly basis, compared to 68% of men. But that gap is still mind-boggling, and part of the reason for this gap around masturbation is societal stigma around people with vulvas and or women masturbating, that it's unhealthy, or the fact that people just don't get that information. That's part of the reason why I wanted to start this series. I want to expand this series to other people's experiences of masturbation, which are often not talked about, including trans people's experiences, intersex people's experiences, asexual and queer people's experiences of masturbation. So if you are one of those humans and you would like to collaborate with me on a video for this series, I would love it so much. So to kick this series off, I wanted to start with the basics. So I'm going to be talking about how to masturbate with your hands if you have a vulva. These tips will work with anybody if you have a vulva. However, there might be additional factors, for example, if you're on testosterone, and I do want to make a video specifically about people who have vulvas who are on T, but there should be some tips from this video that you should also be able to take as well. So my first tip is to use lube. Lube is amazing, especially if you are masturbating and touching your clitoris. Lube can help things feel a lot more comfortable. Lube can also be super great if you are masturbating with penetration in a vagina. You don't need to feel worried or bad if you feel like your vagina isn't producing enough moisture. There's nothing wrong or shameful about using a whole bunch of lube. Also, lube is essential if you are masturbating while touching your anus because it does not lubricate itself. Another general tip is to start with your touches being slow and soft. As you masturbate more often and learn about your body's own sexual response, you can adjust the softness, fastness, slowness to your own liking and whatever suits your own body. We've already talked a little bit about this already, but now we're going to talk about places that you can touch when you're masturbating. And the first place I'm going to mention is probably not going to surprise you, and that is the clitoris. So the clitoris actually has 8,000 nerve endings, which is amazing. And also most people with vulvas either orgasm by stimulation of the clit or clitoris in combination with other penetration. Here is where the clitoris is on a vulva. It's right there. And also, it extends within the body. It has a whole bunch of erogenous tissue that you can stimulate. Some tips for how to touch the clitoris. So because of the 8,000 nerve endings, it can feel like you're being overstimulated or actually be painful to touch the clitoris directly. So as you're starting your masturbation session, it might feel more comfortable to touch around the hood of the clitoris, which is kind of above and around it. You can massage that, grabbing some lube in circular motions or up and down. Another place that you can stimulate when you're masturbating is, of course, the vagina. You can touch around the entrance. You can go inside and use your fingers to move in and out. You can also identify your Gspot, which if you do a come hither motion, you can find it closer to your stomach, not your back. And you can work your fingers in circular motions or up and down, and that feels really awesome. Another spot that you can look for is the A spot. The A spot's also pretty deep inside a vagina, so you might need a sex toy to reach it unless your hands are super long, but it's another place where you can experience a lot of pleasure. Another place you can stimulate when you're masturbating, and this is if you have a vulva or if you have any type of genitals, and that is the anus. I've actually made a whole video about butt stuff with my lovely friend Suze, and we talk about masturbation and self-exploration. I will link it in the description, but a lot of our messages involve using lots of lube, going slow, starting with smaller objects, like one finger and then working up to more fingers or bigger objects, but that has a lot of possibilities for you to explore as well. Some lesser talked about places that you can stimulate are neck, ears, inner thighs, chest, basically any place that you can touch on your body that feels good to you and feels erotic to you. Go for it. So those are all of my tips for how to masturbate if you have a vulva and you want to use your hands. I really hope that you enjoyed this video, the first video in the Mastering Masturbation series. Let me know what you think. If there are any topics that you want me to cover, I don't know. I'm just really excited about this series. And I hope you are too. But yeah, that's all I have to say. Have a lovely day. So you might be asking, Eva, why are you dedicating a whole series to masturbation? Isn't it like not as fun or good as partnered sex? To which I say, I will fight you. Don't ever say that in this house.